Today on LA Currents, it's a place where everyone gets a second chance, with tiny homes and big hopes. Their goal is to meet the emotional and spiritual needs of anyone who is experiencing homelessness. Next, he started with Street Services Bureau in 1989. He's an adjunct professor at LA Trade Tech College and a lifelong Angelino who oversees the largest municipal street network. First, hair discrimination is a real concern that is rooted in systematic racism. However, LA County Supervisor Holly Mitchell and the Crown Act are gaining traction and leading the charge against it. Well established about 150 years ago, the LA Board of Supervisors is the largest governing board of its kind at the local level in the country. And today I am delighted to be joined by one of the 5 supervisors, the newest to the Board of Supervisors. In fact, hello, Holly Mitchell.
Thank you so much for having me.
Historic. This entire Board of Supervisors is historic. 5 women sitting in a position in which there's been mostly men, but a collection of both men and women. From your perspective, has that actually changed the feeling at the table?
And the interesting thing is we haven't been at the table together. So I've had to onboard in this new amazing opportunity, this new very important position in the middle of a public health pandemic. But I will say this, tokenism is almost as bad as not being present at all.
Correct.
And the research showed that if you can get 3 women on a board, now you're cooking with grease. I can't imagine what Supervisor Molina must have faced as the first woman and the only woman on that board all those years.
Right. So what are some of the things that you are all 5 focusing on right now? Where are some of your priorities?
We are focusing on an LA County recovery that's based in equity. All of us are clear that this virus was equal opportunity, and yet there are some communities that suffered at disproportionate rates. Women suffered significantly in terms of job loss. Given our dual role with kids being out of school and childcare being closed, we know women have suffered. So I'm proud of the Women and Girls Initiative that the board established before I got here, and really focused on what we have to do to help women and girls recover in an equitable format. And so I look forward to, as a board, as we deliberate our county budget this year and the American Rescue Act funds, about how we make sure that all of LA County recovers. And that's going to require a disproportionate investment in some communities over others.
You have championed a lot of interesting causes, but you've also championed causes that may not necessarily be something that people would be aware of if they weren't a part of the world. And that one of the things that I thought was remarkable was the Crown Act. And the Crown Act surprised me, scared me, and made me think twice. So in an era in which we're all quite sensitive to equity and individual rights and awareness of others that maybe we had been blind to, how did the Crown Act come to be, and what was it, and why was it important for you?
For years, when I was first elected to the legislature, we would see news stories about typically young black girls who'd been sent home from school because they went to school with their hair in plaits or braids or twists with beads. And after the second or third news story, I started my own little individual campaign. I'd write them a letter and send them my official legislative headshot, which is me with my locks. I've been locked for going on 17 years. Typical elected official pose. U.S. flag, California flag, I'm in a suit, you know that picture. And that's the picture that hung of me in the Capitol for 10 years. And I'd send in the picture. And the point was, you are okay just the way you are with your natural hair. I know when I locked 15 years ago that I knew that it was both a social and a political statement to the outside world, and I was ready for that. Fast forward, I was at a national conference of Black state legislative women, and we heard this presentation talking about this study of Black women and our attitudes about our own hair, and this notion that it's not acceptable for us to wear our hair in its natural state in the workplace. And so we began to put two and two together. I thought back to the early 70s where women were suing some of the more conservative sectors, banking and the airline industry, to allow them to wear their hair braided to work. And they lost those lawsuits. So we began to kind of look at the law and met with some amazing black female law professors who had studied this, who understood the body of law in terms of protected rights, and understood that we needed to acknowledge that hair is a race-based trait. And because of that, it should be protected under the law, just like age, gender, sexual orientation, religion is protected in the Equal Opportunity and Housing Code section. A couple months after that aha moment, we saw the young wrestler in New Jersey who was had his hair cut in the middle of the wrestling match by someone who was not his parent. And it occurred to me as a parent, and just the vicious way with which she literally attacked his hair, that the time had come to have a really personal conversation made public about black hair texture, about because of my texture, it affords me the opportunity to wear my hair in styles that are unique to my experience as a black woman, braids, twists, or locks. I acknowledged to my colleagues in the Senate that I'm sure not one of them ever decided that they were not going to vote on a Mitchell bill or a Mitchell budget item because I choose to wear my hair locked. My hairstyle choice had no bearing on the nature or the quality or the caliber of the work I do.
Correct.
And so the Crown Act, creating a respectful and open world for natural hair, says that regardless of what your work is or you at school, you wearing your hair braided should not be grounds for suspension. And far too many black girls and young men were being sent home from school, not allowed to participate in their graduation ceremonies because of a school-based or a workplace policy that determined that only straight hair was acceptable.
So the reasons that you entered into the realm of politics and government, are these those reasons from the broad perspective of, equity to these delicate areas? Because you transitioned from nonprofit into this realm. Did you see that this is the place for you to be able to make the most change? And have you felt that this has worked for you?
I think it's worked for me.
Okay.
I don't know that I was conscious of it.
Okay.
I think back to my parents met as eligibility workers working for LA County Department of Public Social Services.
Oh.
And I saw the role government played in the late 50s, early 60s when my mother was writing grants, when we were at a time very similar to now, when the federal government, after the Watts Rebellion, acknowledged that poverty was a problem. And that there were certain populations and communities that were suffering at a disproportionate rate. And President Johnson declared the war on poverty, and federal dollars came into state and local government. And so I've, through my entire life, have witnessed what government can do to uplift communities.
All right, at the risk of actually sounding like somebody who's asking you a question during a campaign here, I'm going to ask it anyways. What do you hope to achieve as a Sue?
As I identified people to come join me on this journey, these young staffers, we spent a lot of time talking about establishing our office culture. And it was important to me that I was creating opportunity and space and hiring people who shared my commitment and passion for creating a second supervisorial district that we all are excited about raising our children in and growing old in. I'm a third-generation native, and so Los Angeles means the world to me. And so, my goal, ultimately, is to be able to look back, hopefully, knock on wood, in 12 years, if I'm given the opportunity to serve, 3 full terms, and recognize that there is a first grader that entered school my first year who will be graduating from high school by year 12. What did we do in that 12-year span to create livable, walkable communities, to create more green space in her neighborhood, to make sure that she had the opportunity to enter a child care setting and a K through 12 setting that fed her, that saw her, that supported her in meaningful ways, that she will be able to come back to her community if she so chooses and afford housing in her own community. Those are the kinds of visions I have for the 2nd District.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Ken Kraft is the CEO of the nonprofit Hope of the Valley. Bringing a blend of business savvy and compassion, we talk with Ken about his source of pride, the tiny home village. Well, here we are on a bright, sunny Southern California day. We are here at the North Hollywood Tiny Home Village. I am delighted to be joined by the Executive Director of Hope of the Valley, Ken Kraft, as well as the Maintenance Manager here at this Tiny Home Village, Joe Amarendis. So nice to have you both here. This is incredible. I mean, what you think and what you feel and what you realize when you show up is amazing. Hi, sweetheart. May I pick you up? Excuse me, for half a second, I got a friend. How many tiny homes are there here?
Well, this site right here is the very first tiny home community in the city of Los Angeles, and it's in Councilman Paul Krikorian's district, and this is on Chandler Boulevard, has 39 units and 75 beds. And since this one was opened up in February, we've been able to partner with other council districts and open up another 3 tiny home communities, and then we're slated for another 2 to open before September.
This is really, it's delightful to see for a number of reasons. I mean, it does feel very calm, very relaxed, very homey, and it's got, you know, fun colors and lots of assets. What are some of the attributes of this particular area?
Well, having a facility like this is absolutely essential in our fight against homelessness. Historically, the big push has been to get people into permanent housing, which I'm all for. We need permanent housing, supportive housing, affordable housing. But oftentimes that takes a long time to build. There was the bond measure that passed in 2016 to create 10,000 units of affordable housing, but the first units weren't completed until January 2020. That's almost 4 years, and when that happens, it's just too long of a time. And so the streets cannot be the waiting room for permanent housing. And so the ability to construct rapidly, to deploy interim housing, emergency temporary housing, is part of the solution here in Los Angeles to get people off the streets. Because the longer people stay on the streets, the worse they get. Their mental health deteriorates, their physical bodies deteriorate, they become hopeless. There was almost 1,400 people who died on the streets last year. And so this becomes part of the solution right here. We get people off the streets, and once they're here, everything that they have need of is here. They have showers, they have mental health services, substance abuse counseling and treatment. They have housing navigators. There's a shower hygiene trailer. There's a dog park for those that have dogs.
Yes, exactly.
There's 3 meals a day. Anything that somebody has need of is available right here to help them end their homelessness.
Joe, this means a lot to you because you came to Hope of the Valley as not necessarily somebody who was working for the organization, but somebody who needed the help of the organization. Where were you in your life, and how did your interaction with Hope of the Valley kind of flip things around for you?
Yeah, I was homeless before I even knew about Hope of the Valley. I was going through a divorce. I ended up, making some wrong decisions in my life, and I was actually living out of my car. I didn't believe in myself. I thought of suicide more than once. I just gave up on life. And that's when I came across Hope of the Valley. And, before I met Hope of the Valley, I was hopeless. I came across Hope of the Valley, and it changed my life. And what changed for me is that I realized that there were people out there and organizations that do help people in my situation.
I want to thank you for sitting in this beautiful, sunny experience that we've just had together. And I look forward to looking around. You want to look around?
Let's do it.
All right. All right, so this particular unit's not inhabited right now, but I have to notice that for the next resident, there's some really lovely attributes available to them the second they move in.
Yeah, and these units are really quite remarkable. They're only 64 square feet,
Okay.
And we're sitting inside one. You'll notice there's 2 beds. There's storage that goes underneath. There's air conditioning. There's heaters. There's 3 electrical outlets. There are 4 windows for cross ventilation. There's a light for nighttime, a smoke detector, and most importantly, there's a front door that locks. And what's amazing about these units is they can be put together and installed in 90 minutes.
What?
In 90 minutes, they are put together and they are done. This entire site was built in 90 days.
Are they pricey?
$8,500.
Oh, okay.
Only $8,500, whereas when we're building the permanent housing, you're typically looking at, well, the last one that was built was over $500,000 per unit.
Right.
So this is this emergency response to get people off the streets quickly and stabilize them until we can get them into permanent housing.
I do notice there are names on a lot of these
Yeah.
tiny homes.
One of the ways that we
Loving memory.
want people to get involved. We don't want this to be a mystery. We want to demystify the process. So we've actually allowed people in the community to sponsor these tiny homes to help us defray the additional cost of getting it open and some of the operational costs.
And they're personalized. We talked about that one in the interview, but some of them are really cute. I mean, plants, and then over more plants. I've seen bicycles, obviously the puppy that is now my favorite thing in the world. But this is lovely. I mean, it feels, I don't know, there's a peace.
And I think we all long to be part of family, deep down. And this becomes family. This becomes a place. This becomes a place where people get to know other people. It's at their own neighborhood. There's, with the pets and even the colors are very bright and vibrant. And this is a place where people's hope is reignited.
Okay, and there's lots of places to eat, and there's food service.
Yeah, Hope of the Valley, we provide 3 meals a day. Right now, as an organization, we do about 1.5 million meals per year. And we do all of our cooking out of a central commissary in Pacoima, and then we deliver to all the various sites that we operate. And this is a big step for people that have been maybe digging through dumpsters and trash cans and trying to find leftovers to be able to have a healthy meal.
And that's part of your program, not necessarily part of the city's.
Yes, but it is one of the requirements. Anybody who's going to operate these sites needs to make sure that they're providing all the services that we've talked about today.
And then there's also laundry facilities.
Yeah, right behind us, we have 6 washers and dryers at no cost where individuals can come. So when you think about it, when somebody comes here, they can take a nice long hot shower, they can get clean clothes, they can wash their clothes, they get introduced to their own private unit with air conditioning and a mattress and a bed and electrical outlets. It's everything that they have need of.
Are you having a hard time filling the units?
No, we are not. We are working with LASA, which they have the outreach and engagement teams, and then also with the local council district. We do prioritize those that live in this area. And so, but this site right now, except for the 1 unit we were in, it's full.
It's homey. It feels very calm, and are you feeling optimistic about all these?
I really am feeling optimistic. With the amount of resources that are coming to LA, the political will, the will of the people, and the numbers of providers that are rolling up their sleeves to address this issue, I am confident that over the next 12 to 24 months, we're going to see a huge change in the landscape of homelessness and getting people off the streets.
If people want to help, because as you said, you could use help, although this is a public-private partnership, you need more support.
All the time, and we need volunteers, we need donations, and the easiest way for people to do that is to go to hopeofthevalley.org or give us a call, 818-392-0020.
As I say, it's quiet in, but there's a lot of activity out there today. So anyway, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Next, we have a conversation with the new Executive Director of StreetsLA, Keith Mozee, and hear how he is committed to enhancing the look and feel of our streets and neighborhoods. Well, congratulations are in order for my guest today. I am delighted to be joined by the new Executive Director of StreetsLA, Keith Mozee. So fun to have you here. Okay, so 30 years with the City of Los Angeles. You've had quite the career. You actually started as a light truck operator. What were you, like 5?
No, thank you. Actually, it'll be 32 years come August 1st.
Wow.
And it's all with StreetsLA. We used to be called Street Maintenance back in the day, and we changed and evolved to Bureau of Street Services, and now StreetsLA as we rebranded to basically improve our image as we move forward into the future. I've seen a lot over the years. I've seen the changes. I've seen, our organization improve. I've seen our organization get better, smarter over the years.
What are some of the things that you feel very optimistic and positive about?
Well, I feel positive about everything. I've overseen our construction services division, our engineering division, our emergency operations division. I'm currently the racial equity officer, chief equity officer. And with that, the things that I've seen that have changed that we've really improved on in great stride is our sustainability and recycling over time. And so we're just getting better and better at that. And we're looking at, as I work to basically improve the durability of different materials to put back onto the street system that will last longer, I've basically been able to help oversee our recycling capabilities improve tremendously over the years to make a better, better products for the citizens of Los Angeles. And so those are things that I carry forward. And that actually leads into, what we're, I've been basically working with the, different people as far as on plastics, basically taking water bottles and other, plastic waste products and making that into a binder product to put back on city streets.
Okay, so we have to talk about that because I was going to get to it in a little bit, but now that you've brought it up, let's jump in. Plastic streets, oh my gosh, it sounds like a brilliant idea, but I don't have a clue as to what it all means. But it's almost a plastic asphalt scenario happening. There were tests being done. How did that all play out?
So we did our first test on First and Grand. It's not the plastic street per se the way you think about it. Basically plastic is melted down into what's called a binder product. And so that binder is mixed with other rock, and aggregates, rocks and sand, and basically put back into the street system. Very similar to the asphalt that's currently out there today. It's just using a different binder product. Instead of an oil, we're really using a more plastic-based, product. And what we're finding is that material is 6 to 7 times stronger than traditional asphalt materials as it solidifies onto the street. So our hopes are basically that will basically make streets last longer.
I read that LA is the first to try this. So are we are all eyes looking at Los Angeles when it comes to the potential of this particular industry?
Yes, so we've got a lot of calls from across the nation and also internationally in some cases to basically look at what we do. Because the area that we picked basically has about 680 something buses that cross that particular intersection on a daily basis. And so if it can hold up to that, it can hold up to anything. And so yeah, if we're successful in this, we'll be able to mass produce this product.
My last comment about the plastic enhancement to the asphalt. How much plastic would be used, and what does that mean from an environmental standpoint of being able to recycle? Because one of the issues with recycling is what's the byproduct of the recycling? How much is recycling even helping if it's not needed in some other place? How much recycling would, how many bottles does it take to do a little piece of?
Well, the potential is like thousands and thousands and thousands of water bottles and other waste plastics that can basically come directly from, say, our blue can waste stream. So that's something we'll work with Bureau of Sanitation on, potentially basically to bring that straight from households to a location to basically process and melt it down into, into the polymer binder, but basically without creating additional waste products, because we don't believe in throwing anything away at StreetsLA. Not only do we recycle plastic, but we recycle asphalt and we recycle concrete, and we don't send anything to the dumps. Our cool pavement program that we're doing, to where basically we're putting a, say, white pigmentation onto traditional asphalt streets to basically turn them white, and basically what that does, it reduces the heat island effect, and it can reduce temperatures through the albedo effect by approximately, say, 10 degrees. So,
wow, that's fascinating. Okay, so how far along are we on Cool Streets LA?
So we're doing several pilots throughout the city. We have some ongoing projects that we've done several years back, and we have projects that we're doing now. And so what we're doing, we look at the environment for us as one infrastructure for us. So when we go out there to, say, maintain our streets and our sidewalks, we can add cool elements products. As far as two city streets, we can add shade and structure, hydration, things like that, to have a combined effect as far as to provide shade and reduce temperatures to reduce the heat island effect. One of the things that we saw that was interesting, one of our assistant directors that's currently working on that project partnered with, I want to say, JPL, where you could look at it from a satellite from above.
Ooh,
and you can actually see, yeah, they did heat imaging, so we can actually see the cool areas that we laid the cool slurry products down on.
That's fascinating. And all of these projects, are they all in experimental, or are they in rollout?
They're in rollout,
okay.
And so basically we're still testing, of course, obviously, but basically we're improving and developing this product as we go along, and so we're looking to look at it as not only a cooling effect, but also as a pavement treatment itself.
So the whole idea of cooling LA goes beyond just the the pavement, et cetera. I know that there's a big, huge tree initiative, and I was fascinated to learn that StreetsLA, beyond just the streets, has an enormous array of areas that it focuses on. So I want to get into some of those, but let's just, in a broad scope version, what are some of the arenas that StreetsLA looks at in terms of its responsibilities?
So for us, we look at everything in the right-of-way, from sidewalk to sidewalk, curb to curb in the street, and all the assets that go with that: trees, parkways, curb gutter, asphalt materials, and things like that. So we have an asset management system. It's actually, we're going to track all these assets and look at where the areas of need are for sustainability and equity, and basically concentrate our resources there. We have a street investigation enforcement division that basically makes sure our right-of-ways are clear of obstructions and things of that nature. We have a urban forestry division that basically monitors our trees. We're doing a tree inventory now, and what we're finding is basically we do have a deficit in some of our tree wells of about 20 to 30%. We're still working on that. We just don't build for, say, cars anymore. We build our roads basically for pedestrians, for bicyclists, for scooters, for skateboarders, to use our street network and our system. So when we do our planning, we think about mobility, we think about safety, we think about how people cross the street. Basically when we come in, we want to make sure that, can we, do water capture, stormwater capture, things like that. If we plan right and do our maintenance right today, tomorrow maintenance costs will go down, in the future, in 20 years from now, because we did it right. I want to, basically also to look at sustainability and equity as, important driving forces for us to do our planning better, because we have to adapt to, to this climate adaptation, things like that, but at the same time provide equity. But if we do it right, our maintenance costs will go down in the future.
Well, thank you so much. And if people have they want to get information about StreetsLA, I'm sure it's a very simple website for them to sign on to.
StreetsLA.org.
There you go. It's perfect. All right. Well, thanks so much. Best of everything.
Thank you. All right.
And that's a wrap on this LA Currents.